Let's get to our panel. Eamon Fitzpatrick and David Gazard. Gents, great to see you. I'm in the seat of Bass. As you both know, Bass and the neighbouring seat of Braddon in northern Tasmania, they've flipped between the major parties over the years. David Gazard, Bridget Archer has been somewhat of an independent Liberal, a maverick to an extent, almost a bit like Jackie Lambie, but remaining inside the tent of the Liberal Party. I wonder, what's your read on things at the moment? I did catch up with a few voters early. One lady said Peter Dutton's too Trumpy for her, came out unsolicited and raised Donald Trump, as did a few other voters. I wonder how damaging is the presence of the President hanging over this campaign for the Liberal leader?
Well, there's no doubt it's having an effect. I would put the view that we're in for a period of prolonged economic insecurity. And while I noted the views of the young girls down on the pier that you talked to, I would have asked them the question, who's going to be better long term to manage the interests of Tasmania and the national economy more generally, in the wake of what looks like very, very choppy international economic waters over the foreseeable future. We've got the decline in the Chinese economy. You've got vast instability coming out of the US, and you really only have one choice if you're a voter in Bass, where the incumbent candidate has been independent because she stood up for the views of Tasmanians. But there's really only one choice on who's able to better manage the economy overall.
Eamon, she's going to be tough to beat, Bridget Archer for Labor. As I said, she has been fiercely independent, although still within the Liberal Party. People in this part of Tasmania, they want that independence. They want to see someone going to bat for them. They do value that. I do note, as Gazard mentioned there, those young women who we spoke to here on the banks of the Tamar River, they were basically repeating word for word some of the Labor advertising, whether it be via TikTok or Instagram or where they've picked it up. Whenever you hear the voters, and you know this as does Gaz, when voters start repeating the ads, it's quite compelling, and that's what Labor's been saying. He'll cut, you'll pay.
That's right, Kieran. And, because people know it's true, because Dutton's the one who said you judge someone's future performance on their past. You look at that guy's record, whether he was health minister and all the senior jobs he's had in previous coalition governments. And now we're talking about global instability, trade tariffs. The last time we had a trade dispute with anyone, it was the coalition who brought that on, by the way. Who basically traded away, for the sake of a few barbs at the Chinese, our entire beef and barley exports to China, which all went to the United States. So, we can talk all we like about, the coalition's record on that front, but it was pretty awful, and we've just gotten over it. That brings us to Indonesia, which is another absolutely shocking play by Peter Dutton. Diplomacy is everything. At a time where there is global instability, diplomacy is everything. This bloke has jumped the gun. He has basically put words into the mouth of the president.
Let me just pick you up on
a very friendly country.
I want to ask you about this.
Yeah.
You can ask. I want to ask you specifically about this and get your response, because Peter Dutton says there were reports in a credible military publication, Jane's, that the Russians requested a presence there. Why isn't he well within his rights to seek some comfort and reassurance that is not happening? Why shouldn't he ask that?
He's entitled, and he should ask that. That's not what he did. He seized on what he thought was an opportunity to try and raise a bit of international friction. That's exactly what he did. The Russians are entitled to ask anybody for anything. I am entitled, despite having worked for 4, 5, 6 Labor leaders over the years in elections against the coalition, for life membership of the Liberal Party. But it doesn't mean that's going to happen. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. What he should have done was to seek an assurance privately first. Get the facts straight. Diplomacy is about understanding what's happening. If he had looked at this issue first before shooting his mouth off, he would have also known that the Russians actually issued a statement a year or year and a half ago claiming that they were selling arms to the Indonesians when there was no such agreement. So it's not the first time it's happened. If he had sort of checked it out first, he would have known that this would have been unlikely to be granted, because the region we're talking about is very, very close to a big mining centre that is co-owned by the United States, one of the world's biggest deposits of copper and of nickel and other things, and gold. So, you know, this is unlikely to have been requested. The point is, if you're an experienced international leader, you know the difference between how to raise something and what to raise and when. And that's not what's happened here. He's escalated something and put it in the public eye for a political purpose, to try and make his opponent look weak. Actually, what he did was just reinforce why Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong are the right people for the job, and Richard Marles, because they actually went to go and get the facts first, which is what you do. It's what you do when you're friends with someone. You ask them what's actually happened first.
David Gazard, what's your analysis of this issue? How does that play out, particularly in the context of, we've got the second debate tonight, and we're less than halfway to go in the campaign. We're over the halfway mark. You've got Easter this weekend, Anzac Day long weekend the following weekend. How does this all play out in your view?
Well, I think the first point to make is that it is entirely within his rights as opposition leader to ask the question, given the growing relationship between Indonesia and Russia, about an article that's appeared in a credible defence publication. Now, let's just cast our mind back. We don't have to go very far. Over the course of this campaign, there has been a Chinese warship within our economic zone in a live firing event that the Australian government knew nothing about. This is the foreign relations that Eamon is heralding here. We've had a spy ship, a Chinese spy ship, sail along the route of an underwater submarine cable, a telecommunications cable. Noting its route, it sailed between Tasmania and Victoria. And the Prime Minister's response to that has been to say, well, Australia would prefer it wasn't there. So in a world of where we're getting to more global uncertainty in terms of the economy, in terms of security, you can see the sand shifting day by day. It is well within the rights of the opposition to query what would happen if there was a base. And let's not pussyfoot around this. There have been attempts by the Chinese to establish bases on PNG, on the Solomon Islands, throughout the South Pacific. They are flexing their muscle, looking to increase their presence across our region of the world. A Russian base in that area would be disastrous for Australia. Let's call that a spade a spade. The idea that this government is across this when we've had live firing events in our waters over the course of just the election campaign, as China flexes its muscle across the region, is well within the rights of the opposition.
Okay. David and Eamon, gents, we're out of time. I appreciate you joining us. I'll see you next week.